Greetings again, everybody. Um, Today we're going to continue with our reading of Srimad Bhagavat Mahapurana from the 10th canto, Skanda 10. We've read the first canto, and now we've skipped all the way through the intervening cantos into the 10th canto, for the simple reason that this is what's been done so far in rhyming couplets. So when we've gone as far as chapter 53 in the 10th canto, we'll revert back to where we left off at the end of the first canto and continue on from the second, etc., all the way through to today. We're going to jump ahead to the 10th canto, which is a very nice thing to do because the 10th canto is, of course, the true essence, the quintessence of the whole Bhagavat, the quintessence of the whole Vedic canon. And it's where all our knowledge, or most of it, comes to us about Krishna and his acts in Vrindavan and Mathura and Dwarka. So even the 11th canto could be considered part of the same because it's also Krishna talking to Uddhava, so it's still Krishna Leela in a way. And also in the 7th canto, which is a dialogue between Yudhishthira and Narada after the conclusion of the Rajasuya sacrifice. So the whole 7th canto really could become part of the 10th canto. Anyway, without any further digression, Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Nigamakar Gaditam Phalam Sukhamukha Dravasamyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. Ripe fruit from scripture's wish-fulfilling tree, distilled from Shuka's lips eloquently. Drink deep this Bhagavat, pure rapture's store, ye connoisseurs on earth forevermore. So, Book 10, or Canto 10, Chapter 1, Argument. The gods in council hold debate. Lord Hari deigns to incarnate, the burden to assuage, of goddess earth, who like a cow, with all the gods to Hari bow, to quell the demon's rage. The gods in council sate, and there deliberate, to succor goddess earth, Hari will take his birth. So now beginning with the text, I'll recite some shlokas occasionally, beginning with Rajovacha, the king said, Katito Vangsa Vistaru Bhavata Soma Suryayoho Ragyam Chobhaya Vangshanam Charitam Paramadvitam. The king said, the virtues of the mighty kings who trace their original from the solar race, and also from the lordly moon, to me have been described exhaustively by thee. Moreover, thou hast told O holy sage, how once in pious Yadu's lineage by emanation of himself appeared the mighty Vishnu, by the gods revered. What were the wondrous deeds, I pray thee tell, of him, the Lord in whom all creatures dwell, the ancient universal Lord, when he took birth in royal Yadu's dynasty. And then this is a famous verse. Nivritta tarshairupagiyamanat bhavoshadhat shotramano bidama ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman vidadyeta vina pashugnat. Who but a ritual butcher would abstain from verse which lauds Uttama Shlokas fame, which by ascetics is sung and rehearsed, who have o'ercome for worldliness the thirst. Like some potent simple, it cures all ills, captures the ear, the mind with rapture fills. So simple is an archaic word for medicinal herb. So like some potent simple, it cures all ills. So Bhava Oshada. So it's Oshada. So the hearing of Harikatha, like some potent simple, it cures all ills, captures the ear, the mind with rapture fills. But for his grace, my grandsires could cross o'er the Kudu host, a sea without a shore, where he who made the awesome vow became Leviathan, whom none might hope to tame. That's in reference to Bhishma. Yet they that ocean crossed, as one might pass a tiny calf's hoof print upon the grass. When scorched, within my mother's womb I lay, and she his refuge sought, that he might stay the Brahma missile launched by Drona's son, intent to take my life before begun. He with his discus entered in sublime and saved the Pandu and the Kuru line. O learned one, the deeds to us relate of him who does all beings permeate, who from without is manifest as time, deals death by this, by that, the life divine. Recount his fame and glorious enterprise when he assumed a mortal man's disguise. Moreover, Rama, the son of Rohini, is Sankarshan, the great divinity. How was he removed from Devaki's womb if he did not another form assume? Why did Mukunda, Lord preeminent, leave his father's home for the settlement of cowherds, and how did he there begin to grow and dwell there with his kith and kin? At Braja and at Madhu city too, what did the almighty Keshava do? Why did he kill Uncle Kamsa? A deed nor by custom nor holy writ decreed. How many years as man did he abide? How did he with the Vrishni clans reside? How did he in Yadu's town spend his life? How many damsels did he take to wife? Of these and other themes do thou relate. On Krishna's deeds, O sage, expatiate. 'Tis only right, since thou knowest all things well, to me, your faithful auditor, to tell. From food and even water to abstain is not for me difficult to sustain, as I may the sweet nectar quaff that drips of Hari's exploits from your lotus lips. Suta said, O scion of the Bhikkhus, having heard these inquiries, Vyasa's son was stirred, and did Vishnu's protege gratulate, then that best devotee gan to relate. Sri Sukha said, O pious prince, since you are so inclined, with concentrated intellect and mind, you have for themes on Vasudeva gained, and fond firmness in love you have attained. When talks on Vasudeva's deeds are held, the sins of all three persons are dispelled. The speaker who recites with eloquence, the interlocutor and audience, as Ganga does her stream in three divide, and the three spheres are cleansed and purified. When Goddess Earth, under the ponderous load of haughty kings who on her made abode, addressed herself to Brahma for relief, and told him of the burden of her grief. In form of cow to the great Lord she hies, her face disdained, and tears bedew her eyes. She stood before him, piteous, distressed, and thus her plaint in broken words expressed. Now here I will interpolate a section from the Vishnu Purana, because in our Bhagavat Purana there is no account of her, what she said, but in the Vishnu Purana we do have. So Goddess Earth said, many a Daitya demon enemy, led by the powerful Kala Nemi, the world of mortals have themselves possessed, and mortals there are by them sore oppressed. The great demon Kala Nemi of yore was by the mighty Vishnu killed before, but is reborn as Ugrasena's son, along with him many a vile demon, Arishta, Dhenuka, Keshi, the horse, Pralamba, Naraka of potent force, Shunda and Bana, fearsome in the fight, the son of Bali in his puissant might, and hosts of demons in martial array, as royal princes hold arbitrary sway. I cannot thus sustain the cumbent load of demons who have on me made abode. Therefore, ye gods, distressed, I come to you, for succor and timely relief I sue. Unable to bear burden such as this, I sink into Patala's deep abyss. Vishnu Purana 5, 1, 21 to 27. Now back to the text. When Brahma had her lamentation heard, taking the earth, he with the gods conferred, and with the three-eyed Lord in company they sped to the shore of the milky sea. Arriving there, with ardor they adored Lord Jagannatha, the universal Lord, with concentration on the ancient hymn, Height Purusha Shukta, they worshipped him. Brahma in meditation heard from high a voice that seemed to resonate the sky, which having heard he then himself addressed the gods assembled, and these words expressed. Hearken, ye gods, and heed the words I say. I orders of the primal one convey, which must be acted on without delay. It seems the primal one already knew earth's distress, wherefore his grace we sue, and therefore this commission he imparts. Ye gods should by your emanated parts in Yadu's dynasty assume your birth, to assist him in succoring the earth. The God of gods will act with power divine, the swift course of inexorable time, and till he has achieved his mighty aim to succor earth, ye shall with him remain, while he himself, the illustrious one, shall take his birth in Vasudeva's home. So long as he, the Lord, doth there abide, the damsels of heaven should with him bide. His emanated part, Ananta height, the thousand-faced of independent might, will, as the elder brother, first proceed to serve Hari's pleasure by word and deed. The great goddess, as Vishnu Maya styled, by whom the world entire is beguiled, in order to his commandments to fulfill, shall acts perform according to his will. Sri Sukha said, the patriarch of patriarchs thus said, and with consolation earth comforted, and then commissioned each immortal god, then went back to his own supreme abode. Okay, so that's the machines of the gods. Now on earth, in Surasena's flourishing domain, the Yadu lords in Mathura did reign, where Surasena ruled in days of yore, which still the name of Surasena bore. Since then, Mathura's lofty citadel was made the Yadu prince's capital, from whence they ruled with arbitrary sway, where Lord Hari is ever wont to stay. Sometime thence Vasudeva of the line of Sura had wed Devaki divine, and when the rites were done, the couple wed, they mounted on a car and homeward sped. Ugrasena's son, Kamsa, for to please his sister in the grand festivities, took up the reins, the mettled steeds to guide, and with 100 golden calves they ride. Devaka, the fond father of the bride, a dowry in vast abundance supplied, 400 elephants with rich brocade, with ornaments of golden chains conveyed, along also with the couple proceed 15,000 chargers of noble breed, such gifts as on the richest princes wait, of golden calves full 1,008. Moreover, with the couple did repair 200 maidens decorated fair. O dear one, now the newlyweds begun their way with blast of conch and beat of drum, the kettle drums and bugles sounding blare, the sanctity and blessedness declare. Kamsa, while guiding the car on the way, heard a voice unembodied begin to say, thou fool, the 8th issue of her you drive, shall you of your most cherished life deprive? This, having heard the wicked, sinful man, the blot and stain on all the Bhoja clan, his trenchant falchion raised in horrid dread, his sister's hair he seized to lop her head. To him who stood thus ready to commit a deed abominable and unfit, the Blessed One, Vasudeva, essayed to pacify him, and unto him he said, Sri Vasudeva said, O hero of the Bhoja clan renowned, the shining star whose praises doth resound, how can you, a woman, your sister, slay, and this upon her very wedding day? O hero, death is certain for those born. 'Tis coeval with the physical form. It may be that today stern death appears, or else after a full 100 years, when the body resolves into the five elements, the soul doth immediately contrive another body thereunto assume, and doth the progress of action resume. As step by step a man walks on the track, his forward foot puts down and lifts the back, or even as a worm upon the grass, from leaf to leaf, and urged by act thoughts must pass. As a man dreaming does a body see derived from his diurnal reverie, the perceptions of day that may have been, whatever heard, contemplated, or seen, and with his dream body identifies, which upon past experience relies. E'en so the soul, forgetful of the past, is straightway into a new body cast. Thus here and there the soul is urged and pleased by restless mind and destiny's decrees, and when the body into five resolves, the mind within the attributes involves. For him another body Maya makes, and with a new form another birth takes. E'en as the luminaries with their beam in water vessels reflected are seen, but when the blowing wind the water shakes, the image reflected transforms and quakes. And thus the soul in body is confined, formed by the fond attachment of the mind. Thereby the soul identity attains with the body and deluded remains. Therefore, you should not envy or despise, but hear the good counsel that I advise, considering your own future welfare. For one who hates has cause others to fear. This damsel, your sister, a tender dame, as helpless daughter on you has a claim for protection and doth your favour seek, for you are one merciful to the weak. Sri Shuka said, O foremost of the Kurus, it was futile with reason the evil to reconcile, and like one who on human flesh doth feed, he purposed to enact the heinous deed. Anakadundubi saw his intent. Anakadundubi is another name for Vasudeva, Krishna's father to be, and pondered another expedient to avert the present danger to his wife, and him restrain from taking of her life. The wise are duty bound, this is what he's thinking. The wise are duty bound life to preserve, by whatever expedient may serve, and if he fails therein, nevertheless he does not thereby his duty transgress. By promising to death my future sons, from him her present death the damsel shuns, and I hereafter worthy sons should be, if hereafter worthy sons should be, this present death may meet his destiny. I shall consign hereafter to his care my sons, and shall have nothing more to fear. As when a burning piece of wood ignites, its neighbour catching the flame as it lights, and yet for some unknown reason we see some escape the flame as if by destiny. Thus destiny, the inscrutable, brings the union and the disunion of things, and nor by reason nor by human laws for changing bodies can one find a cause. Considering which course to take and how, as far as his intellect would allow, solely, that's Vasudeva, with great respect and mind composed, to the sinful one his offer proposed. With lotus countenance, serene and pure, his grief within his mind he did immure, and outwardly a soft smile he expressed, and unto the shameless his words addressed. Sri Vasudeva said, O noble one, from her there is no harm, and there is no cause for present alarm. The sons, the formless voice said would ensue, to quell your fear, I shall hand o'er to you. Sri Shuka said, Kamsa perceived his reasoning was fit, and his sister to death did not commit. With pleasantries, flattery, and good cheer, satisfied, to his chambers did repair. In due season, and in the course of time, Devaki, mother of the gods divine, gave birth successively in every year to 8 bright sons and but one daughter dear. To Kansa, Anakadundubi, brave, his firstborn, Kirtiman, reluctant gave, and fearing to be perjured, he consigned the babe, much disquieted in his mind. What distress can the good not tolerate? What learned one would differentiate? Will wicked ones from evil deeds refrain? From what can the self-possessed not abstain? Observing solely his equanimity, his truth, resolve, and his firm constancy, Kamsa was pleased, O king, and satisfied, and smilingly, in few, he thus replied, take back the infant, and be of good cheer. From your first issue is no cause of fear. It is for your 8th son the time I bide, by whom indeed my death is prophesied. With so be it, and taking back his child, Anakadundubi, noble and mild, at the tyrant's words was little consoled, who knew him unchangeable and uncontrolled. Meanwhile, Nanda and all the other coward men who abode in Braja with their women, Vasudev and Vrishni dynasty and Yadu dames headed by Devaki, were all as gods in dignity and pride, and both houses were in friendship allied. All this was known to Kamsa on report of Narada when he came to his court, that to remove the burden of the earth and slay the wicked, gods had taken birth. When the sage had gone, Kamsa, in his scorn, considered the gods now as Yadu's born, and weened that any child of Devaki may well be Vishnu, his adversary. Vasudeva, Devaki, he detains, holds them in durance, and binds them in chains, and thinking that each child might be Vishnu, doubtful, one after another, he slew. 'Tis seen that greedy kings, immersed in sin, slay mother, father, friends, and kith and kin, and envious of others and their gain, they may murder or have anyone slain. His previous existence he recalled, as the great demon Kailanemi called, who had with Vishnu in the ancient strife been quite deprived and defeated and deprived of life. And thus his persecution he began upon the members of the Yadu clan. His father, Ugrasena, he had bound, who ruled the realms of Surasena round, and made Bhojas and Andakas prostrate, and ruled with arbitrary sway the state. Thus ends chapter 1 and book 10 of the Bhagavad Purana. I'll go on a bit more, shall I? Send me a message when you want me to stop.
You've only just started, please.
All right, sorry. So, is it okay then? It's clear.
Very, very good. Bravo.
Okay. So, Sri Shuka said, the adversaries of the blessed ones, Pralamba, Baka, and other demons, Chanura, whirlwind, and the mighty snake, with Mushtika, did on earth dwelling make. Arishta, Dvivida, of mighty force, the witch, Putana, and Keshi, the horse, the ass, Denuka, and great potentates, incarnate as rulers of vast estates. Bana, the king, Bhoma, the demon hight, who by their persecution put to flight the Yadus, by their firm allegiance tied, that were to Magad's dread monarch allied. That's Jarasandha. The Yadus, thus afflicted with great pains, sought asylum in prosperous domains of Kuru, Panchala, Kekaya kings, Salvas, Vidarbhas in their wanderings, and with Nishadas, Videhas they stayed, and Koshadas who lent them willing aid. Some few were amenable to his will, and stayed his ordinances to fulfill. When Devaki 6 babes to death were done by hand of Ugrasena's wicked son, a 7th fetus thereon took the room, and Vishnu's lustre entered in her womb. The primal emanation known to fame and celebrated by Ananta's name, which supreme joy and pleasure did augment, with apprehensive anxiety blent. Even the Lord illustrious, sublime, the soul of all the universe divine, feared Kamsa for his Yadu clansmen's sake, and unto goddess Yogamaya spake. Proceed, goddess, to Nanda's brother, go, O blessed one who benefits bestow. Their cows and cowherds, decorated well, abide in peace. And there also doth dwell a wife of Vasudeva, who there came, known as the lovely Rohini by name. She at Nanda's cowherd settlement bides. From Kamsa's dread he others elsewhere hides. In Devaki's womb present doth remain my divine lustre known by Shesha's name. With care let that fetus transplanted be and placed within the womb of Rohini. Now by my emanated part shall be myself the son of pious Devaki, and you, O blessed goddess, take your birth from Nanda's wife and manifest on earth. Thereafter, established, O goddess divine, your votaries will worship at your shrine, and they will incense and articles bring, and with supplication make offering. In diverse regions men will temples found, and seeking boons your glory will resound. The supplicant will call upon your names as Durga, Bhadrakali, best of dames, as Vijaya, Kumuda, Vaishnavi, Chandika, and Krishna, and Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani named, Ishani, Sharada, Ambika famed. Since Rohini's son from the womb is drawn, of Devaki and of Rohini born, the people as Sankarshan will address, and since he brings the world great happiness, he as the lovely Rama will be known, and for his mighty and puissant renown, and for he is with sacred strength possessed, he will as Balabhadra be addressed. Thus ordered by the illustrious one, she said, Om, so be it, thy will be done. She took the order and around him paced, and acted for its fulfillment with haste. And as bidden to earth she made descent, and went to Nanda's cowherd settlement. Meanwhile, when the fetus was drawn from Devaki and placed into the womb of Rohini by Yogamaya, all the people cried, Ah me, poor Devaki has miscarried. Even the Lord illustrious sublime, the soul of all the universe divine, who grants his devotees fearlessness, by his emanated part made ingress, with all his potent powers unconfined, into good Anakadundubi's mind. By bearing in his mind the refulgence of the illustrious one's radiance, he, like the sun, was difficult to view, and no creature of his mystery knew. Thereafter, for the universal weal, Achyuta's emanation to reveal was transferred from the mind of Sura's son and entered Devaki with benison. The soul and cause of all, her grace increased as the moon, joyful rises in the east. Now he in whom the universe abides, within the womb of Devaki resides. In the Boja king's house she stood revealed, but was unseen, like fire concealed, or like the one by Saraswati blessed, who keeps wisdom obscure, unmanifest. Beholding her refulgence, Kamsa knew within her was the birthless Lord Vishnu. He saw her smiles irradiate the room. He recalled his inevitable doom, and cogitating to himself, he said, never before has she such luster shed. Therefore I deem for certain that Hari has entered in the womb of Devaki, and does by this deceptive trick contrive me of my life and fortune to deprive. If she, my sister, big with child, I slay, the taint of sin could not be washed away, and fame and affluence and all I boast would be quite vanquished and forever lost. The wicked one who causes fear and dread, though living, is considered to be dead, since people curses while he lives bestow, still proud of his body, to hell doth go. Thus from the heinous deed Kamsa refrained, but enmity toward Hari maintained, and bided his time, anxious and forlorn, until the time that Hari would be born. While seated or reclining on his chair, while eating or while going here and there, he always thought of Hrishikesh with awe, and him in all and everywhere he saw. Brahma and Bhava, that's Shiva, and the sages wise, with Narada and gods, came from the skies, and in chorus proffered their hymn in song to do his pleasure and his praise prolong. The gods said, all hail of truthful vows, all hail to you, the truth supreme, and in all three phases true. You are in truth, and source of truth divine. Your eyes as truth and as righteousness shine. You are the truth of truth, the self of truth. In you we seek final refuge, forsooth. From one fountain springs the primal tree, of which the fruits are two, the roots are three, the saps are four, the attributes are five, the 6 states that occasion doth contrive, the bark of 7 layers, of branches 8, 9 holes, 10 leaves, and sitting there sedate, 2 handsome birds conjoined in amity upon the primal universal tree. Thou art the cause from whence all this evolves, the stay, and into whom it all resolves. By those deluded by thy Maya seed, the show of extrinsic variety were not so the learned devotee. You subsist in your self-dependent state, yet taking diverse forms you incarnate, whereby to all the world welfare you bring, to each immobile and each mobile thing, which to the good afford pleasure and charm, and only to the wicked augurs harm. In you, O Ambujaksha, lotus-eyed, all creatures and all existence abide, and who in contemplation is absorbed, as one upon a ship who climbs aboard, which represent your feet, they straightway pass as over a calf's hoofprint on the grass. And thus the wise, devoted, easily cross over this vast existential sea. thus passing the irremeable way. O Lord, radiant as the God of day, beyond the vasty existential sea, they leave behind in kindness and mercy the same boat of their example and deed, and by your grace others may so proceed. O lotus eye, the proud who themselves ween freed from all bondage still have minds unclean, and even though they reach the lofty height, they must fall as your lotus feet they slide. Such, O Madhava, is not so for those who in your sure protective care repose, since their efforts never unfruitful prove, as they are bound to you with cords of love. And if by obstacles they are misled, they trample on the impediment's head. You are in your transcendent state supreme, the immaculate existence serene, and with your manifested form appear to bring embodied beings great welfare. By Vedic rites and yoga practices, by contemplation and austerities, and by the acts of worship they pursue, mankind show their deep reverence for you. If your serene existence were not shown, then knowledge of your state would be unknown. But since you knowledge of yourself convey, which ignorance dispels and drives away, whence by your attributes you are perceived, and thus your form divine may be conceived. Your name and form and birth and quality are not easy to conceive or see, since you are of the mind and speech witness. You are known by devotion and service, and by such devotion and service they hear and recount and contemplative pray and sing of your auspicious, worthy fame, recall your beauty and recite your name, and in their minds your lotus feet perceive, and freedom from existence thus achieve. The fortune here, O Hari, is complete, since merely by the contact of your feet and your wonderful and auspicious birth you minish the great burden of the earth. Indeed, on earth and in the heaven too, the lotus conch club disc signs we may view. O birthless one, you take birth for the sake of your own joy, and incarnation take. We cannot by reason your purpose learn, nor can we your transcendent state discern. For souls inured to birth and death here, you are the refuge and remove their fear. And as the fish and horse in days of yore, the turtle, man-lion, the cosmic boar, the swan, and of royal princes best, and Vipra mid the gods made manifest. In all these forms you protect and uphold and incarnate to bless the triple world. We pray to you, O God, O Yadu chief, that you of earth's burden afford relief. Then turning to Devaki, they said, O blessed mother of high sanctity, the great one with his potent energy, the illustrious one himself doth deign to abide in your womb and there remain, to manifest himself as your own son. The Yadus will have a protector one. Fear of the Boja tyrant put away, for him the Lord hath determined to slay. Sri Shuka said, thus, having offered up their prayer sublime to the Supreme Being of form divine, the gods behind Brahma and Isha went back to their dwelling in the firmament. And that ends chapter 2 in book 10. Chapter 3 then, the argument. Is that all right?
Hi, Hari.
In this chapter, doth the blessed scene relate, prevailing when Hari did incarnate. His mighty four-armed form divine he showed, the maternity room with lustre glowed. The hymn of Vasudeva Devaki, describing his supreme divinity, Krishna reveals how in the days of yore he was incarnate from them twice before. Vasudeva bears child Krishna away and to the home of Nanda doth convey. Sri Shuka said, and now arrived the blessed season fair, wherein all graces and virtues appear, surcharged with auspiciousness and delight, with Brahma's constellation shining bright. The stars and luminaries were at peace, which augured of blessedness and increase. The directions were tranquil and serene, the sky was clear, the stars shimmering gleam. The earth was blessed with complacent content in city, town, and rural settlement, and mining quarries with their jewels glowed. The lakes were placid, and the rivers flowed, wherein blooming water lilies abound. The birds were vocal, and the bees resound. The verdant lustre of the leafy trees was charged with the auspicious fragrant breeze, which felt to touch delightsome and pleasant along the invigorating scent. The twice-born ones, contented, were at ease. The flames of sacrifice burn with increase. The good and pious had been sore distressed, and by the evil demons were oppressed. But when the birth of the birthless drew nigh, the kettle drums resounded in the sky. The Kinnaras and the Gandharvas raise with songs and verses his auspicious praise. The Vidyadharas sing sweet melodies and joyful dance the fair Apsarasis. The gods and holy sages from on high, exulting, scatter flowers from the sky. The rumbling clouds reverberated round, mildly re-echoing the ocean's sound. And thus, in the dense darkness of the night, the Almighty One, Janardana hight, assumed his birth from pious Devaki, who held within her all divinity. Thus Vishnu, who dwells in all, radiant, rose like the bright moon in the Orient. Vasudeva, eyes dilated with awe, a wonderful lotus-eyed infant saw, who shone with radiant and lovely charms, with his famed emblems and four mighty arms, wherein he held the discus and the shell, and on his bosom goddess Shri did dwell. His lovely neck, most delicately formed, was with the bright Kaustuba gem adorned. His beauty, like a dark, dense cloud, was seen, contrasting with his yellow garments' sheen. His shining earrings and his diadem sparkled with diamond and Vaiduria gem, reflecting on his hair that tumbled down in sable ringlets from his shining crown. His waist was girt with ornamental zone, his golden armbands and his bracelets shone. Now, as Anakadundubi described Hari, his son, his eyes dilated wide, since Krishna as his son did incarnate, a grand nativity would celebrate. To the Brahmins, although he was confined, he gave 10,000 cows within his mind. Now, to the child whom he perceived to be the primal transcendent divinity, he saw how the lying-in chamber blazed with his great lustre, while on him he gazed, and bowing low, with palms together pressed, O Bharat, his high eulogy expressed. Sri Vasudeva said, Ah me, I know thee now and comprehend. Thou art the one whom nature doth transcend. Thou revellest in thine inherent bliss, and all of intellect thou art the witness. Thou, through thine own creative energy, evolve all this by the attributes three. And though it seemeth thou hast made ingress, thou hast not entered it, nevertheless. And even as these elements exist, prior to evolution, they subsist in differentiation till the time the elements in harmony combine. And as the evolution doth progress, it seems into effects they make ingress, but not so, since effects they antedate and enter not, remaining separate. Thus, even so, thou art, O Lord divine, beyond the intellect by any sign, the sense objects, sense faculties perceive, and intellect doth impressions receive. But thou dost within and without remain, the self of all, and all thou dost sustain. Whoso the self with gunas doth confound is by an inverted conception bound. He is a fool, and thus cannot discern, nor from wise counsel, nor from reason learn. And who with his soul body identifies, his view has been rejected by the wise. From thee all this vast creation evolves. It rests in thee, and back to thee resolves. And wise scholars, O mighty Lord, maintain that thou dost e'er unmodified remain, that thou from acts and qualities art free, the ruler and supreme divinity. In this is no contradiction, indeed, since all by function of gunas proceed. Thou art, O Lord, of the three spheres the stay, which thou by Maya power dost display. In the white form of sattva you maintain the creation, and in thyself sustain. Thou dost in red form of rajas create, with which doth by evolution generate. A dark tamasic form thou dost assume, when thou dost all this withdraw and subsume. Thou, for the protection of the world, hast come and made descent incarnate in my home. By thee wicked princes will be subdued, and thou shalt slay the demon multitude, who have as martial rulers taken birth, who with their puissant arms oppress the earth. O Lord of gods, this villain, having heard and knowing the prophecy, will be stirred. He has whilom thy elder brothers killed, and learning of thy birth, he will be filled with indignation and will hasten now with weapons raised to strike the deadly blow. Sri Shuka said, now marking the signs of divinity in the body of their son, Devaki, although of Kamsa very much afraid and fraught with wonder, prayed to himself. Devaki said, your form and nature are unmanifest, and ancient texts your essence have expressed as primal, absolute, and light divine, immutable, attributeless, sublime, undifferentiated existence, desireless, and the simple substance. And you are he, the mighty Vishnu height, the shining lamp of divine wisdom bright. After the vast extensive years have passed, height Dviparartha, everything at last, the great elements withdraw and involved are into the primeval state resolved. All that remains when all has entered you is you alone, Shesha, the residue. Thus all this is by mighty time propelled, and the unmanifest by you compelled, through mighty time, from twinkling of the eye to moments, days, months, and years that pass by. All this from you, the ruler, doth ensue. O source of all blessings, I bow to you. The mortals, who fearing death's serpent flee to diverse regions in perplexity, still joy and contentment do never meet. Yet if by chance they find your lotus feet, they rest securely from that very day, and from them death, the dreaded, runs away. O Lord, in fear of Ugrasena's son, we cry your aid and seek your protection, for you are the one who extends relief to bring comfort to your servants in grief. This form illustrious that you reveal from those who see with fleshy eyes conceal. Your birth, O Madhusudana, from me, let not this sinful one have eyes to see. From fear of Kamsa, and by him confined, I am extremely restless in my mind. Therefore, withdraw this majestical form, with conch, which conch, discus, mace, and lotus adorn. This four-armed form, a wonder to the eyes, O Lord, be pleased hereafter to disguise. The universe in your body remains, and at the end, within it all sustains. And when the cosmos reposes in sleep, in your person, commodious, you keep. But now that you have from my womb been born, the people of the world will mock and scorn. The illustrious one said, in ages back, O chaste and pious dame, during Swayambhuva Manu's long reign, the name of Prishnu at that time you bore, and he was taintless Sutapa of yours. With Brahma's order, faithful to comply, in view subject creatures to multiply, ye held your senses in strict abatement, and with hard penance did yourselves torment. Ye bore inclemencies with vigor bold, of driving rain, wind, fierce heat, and cold, and such practice devoutly did maintain, whereby your minds were cleansed and freed from stain. And while ye meditation thus pursued, dry fallen leaves and air was all your food, and thus your worship eager carried on, desiring from me some benison. In this manner ye carried on with ease extremely difficult austerities, and thus 12,000 divine years ye spent, with all your soul on me alone intent. After 12,000 divine years had passed, your term of penance was over at last, and with ye both I was much satisfied, and by your faith and love was gratified, and in as now I did before you stand, and ordered you a boon from me demand. Since I am foremost of those who bestow, from me the rarest benedictions flow, and at that time ye sought the benison to have one like unto me as your son. In amorous delight ye spent your life, and wanting offspring lived as man and wife. My godlike Maya kept ye both beguiled, who sought not liberation, but a child. Thereafter from ye both I took my leave, and you my benediction did receive, and amorous enjoyment you maintain, thereby fulfillment of your hope attain. Not finding any else like unto me, for character and magnanimity, I decided myself to be your child, born of ye both, as Prishni Garbha styled. When you were Kashyap and Aditi, at that time also I was born of thee. As Indra's younger brother, then you did me call, and Vamana, because I was quite small. And now, O pious and chaste mother dear, I for the third time before you appear. And in the same form that I showed to you, I stand before you. Take my word for true. This majestical form that you now view has been shown your memory to renew. Elsewise, if this had not been to you shown, me as but a mortal child would have known. With filial affection, think of me, and know me, supreme divinity. On me thus you shall always meditate, and shall attain to my supernal state. And then there's an extra verse from the Vrindavan recension, which I'll call 45a. This is not in our Bhagavatam, the usual one. And if you are of Kamsa still afraid, then let me to Gokula be conveyed. My Maya is born of Yashoda there, so place me there and bring that infant here. Back to the text. Thus having spoke, said Sukha, Hari silent remained, and by his yoga power, Maya named, transformed to an ordinary infant before his parents' eyes in an instant. Then Sauri, having heard what the Lord said, took him up from the maternity bed and hastened out, when at that very time the great goddess, Yogamaya divine, was brought to birth of Nanda's pious dame, and in the cowherd station did remain. Then by the goddess Yogamaya's spell, the guards and sentinels in slumber fell, and all the other inhabitants there slept soundly and of all were unaware. The gates and entrances were firmly barred, and so constructed that egress was hard, with many iron locks and heavy chains, that entry or exit thereto constrains. While Vasudeva Krishna did convey, the bolts and chains of themselves slipped away, as even the gloom of darkness must fly when once Ravi has risen in the sky. Thick clouds fill the firmament, the rain descends, and Shesha with his hoods a shelter lends. While cloud-compelling Indra sent the rains, Yama's sister with her flood him detains. The turbulent current within the stream, the waves and foam were fearful to be seen. But, as of old, the ocean lent his aid to Shri's consort. A ready way was made. Arrived at Nanda's cowherd settlement, the cowherds were asleep, and so he bent his steps to where Yashoda laid abed, put down the boy, picked up the girl, and fled. Vasudeva back to his prison hied, and put the babe down by Devaki's side. He bound himself with iron chains again, and as confined before, he did remain. Yashoda, Nanda's wife, by sleep beguiled, knew not the gender of the newborn child. So I suppose if I read 4, that would be good, because then it's not so long. Then we can start with Nandotsava the next time. So, Canto 10, Chapter 4, the argument. Returning with Yashoda's daughter fair, who Kamsa sought to slay, but in the air the infant rose as goddess manifest, her radiant mien her glory confessed. She chides Kamsa and thereafter repents, and pious Devaki no more laments. At break of day, Kamsa calls and confers with his dull counselors and ministers, who urge the king to persecute the good. From chapter 4, these themes are understood. Sri Shuka said, both the outside gate and the inside door were tightly barred and fastened as before. And when the palace guards the bawling heard, of the baby newborn wakened and stirred. They quickly rose up in all haste to bring the unwelcome tidings to the Buddha king. The news that he anxiously, the Devaki had given birth, relate. He rose up from his luxurious bed and thought that now time had arrived, and sped into the maternity room he hied, with garments loosened and his hair untied. The divine Devaki was sore oppressed, disconsolate and helpless and distressed, and said, "O blessed brother, I mercy pray, the babe as thy daughter, do not slay, is as thy daughter, do not slay. Dear brother, destiny has been fulfilled, and all my little babies you have killed. But seeing me distraught with anxious care, allow me but this one daughter, and spare. Certes, I am thy younger sister poor, distressed by loss of children. I implore, O master, it would be a grace from thee, if thou wouldst give this last offspring to me." Sri Shuka said, clasping the baby daughter to her breast, with bitter tears, disconsolate, distressed, she begged him and petitioned to appease, but from her arms the cruel one did seize. The bonds of affection he had destroyed, who in his self-interest was e'er employed, and seized its feet, shameless and unabashed, and would have on the stone the baby dashed. But straightway the infant from his firm grip rose up from his hands and gave him the slip. Then Vishnu's younger sister did appear, with 8 arms wherewith weapons she did rear. She was with wreaths and divine raiment bright, anointed and with gem ornaments dight, a bow and arrows, sword and spear and shield, and did the conch, the discus, and the mace wield. The Siddhas and Charanas in the sky, Gandharvas and Apsarasis drew nigh, the Kinnaras and Uragas attend, make offerings and fond welcome extend. And while they praised her favor to invoke, honored by the heavenly host, she spoke. "O foolish wight, what purpose would you gain if I had been by you wickedly slain? Your death and ancient foe is born elsewhere, therefore you children innocent must spare." Thus spake the great Maya, goddess divine, then established in many a fane and shrine, in many and diverse regions remains, addressed by a variety of names. When Kamsa had hearkened to what she said, he was struck with astonishment and dread. Devaki and Vasudeva straightway released, and then humbly began to say, "Ah me, alas, my sin strikes me with awe. Oh, my sister, oh, my brother-in-law, like one who upon human flesh doth feast, by my hand all your dear sons are deceased. The wretched tyrant that I am, ah me, ruthless toward his kith and family, to what regions I shall hereafter go, or even while breathing, I do not know. Like one who has a holy Brahmin slain, I go to perdition and there remain. Even the destiny, it seems, forsooth, may prophesy falsity and untruth, and not just mortals. And so I believed, and slew, O sin, by prophecy deceived. Therefore, O fortunate ones, do not grieve. Your sons the fruits of their own acts receive. All beings reap their fruits as fates decide, nor in one place can friends always abide. Of earth we may see earthen pots produced, the which are again back to earth reduced. And as the earth, the soul ever persists, when the mortal body no more exists. The ignorant this fact cannot construe, encumbered by a differential view, how soul with body joins and separates, and metempsychosis never abates. Therefore, O blessed one, do not lament that I of your son's death was instrument, for all the fruits of their actions receive, and reap of their own deeds, hence do not grieve. So long as one considers, I am slain, or I am the slayer, he doth remain unknowing and to his own true self blind, to suffer and to cause suffering confined. O pardon my evil acts, I implore, for you are good and kindly to the poor. His cheeks bedewed with tears, he did entreat, clasped his sister's and his brother-in-law's feet. Hearing the daughter's speech, Kamsa responds and frees the pair from the strong iron bonds. To Vasudeva and Devaki pressed, and his filial piety expressed. When Devaki saw how he did repent, from her distress and anger did relent, and Vasudeva disdain did forsake, and smilingly unto the caitiff spake. 'Tis even so, O highly blessed one, what you have spoke of the nice distinction, that bodied souls, by ignorance oppressed, distinguish their own and others' interest. Grief, joy, and fear, and jealousy, and hate, strong avarice and pride, the changeful state, who sees not how these conditions ensue, perceives only a differential view. Sri Sukha said, with this pure speech, Kamsa was mighty pleased. Devaki and Vasudeva appeased, and taking leave, respectful, reverent, back to his chambers, reassured, he went. And when that night had drawn unto a close, to call his counsellors, Kamsa arose, and all that had been spoken did confess by Yoganidra, the mighty goddess. When having heard his statement to the full, and hostile to the gods, contemptible, who always worked the woe of deities, the Daityas spoke, devoid of expertise. If such be so, O Bodha King, today all infants but 10 days old we shall slay, or more or less, but wherever found in city, town, or in pasturing ground. What of the gods and all their enterprise, who thought of combat ever terrifies? Who when the twang of your bowstring they hear, they are discomfited and fraught with fear. When you discharged your arrows like the rain, the deities were massacred and slain. And while to save their lives, full of dread, were routed and from the encounter fled. Some there were with folded palms, humble and meek, their arms forsaking, did your mercy, loosened hair and garments, sore dismayed, and some confessed, oh, we are much afraid. And when the gods their weapons had forgot, full of fear, dismount the chariot, those distracted who have lost the will to fight, your sovereign lordship doth not kill. The gods may boast and bluster and incite only when they rest removed from the fight. From Vishnu we need not be terrified, since he within the yogi's hearts doth hide. And Shambhu also may be well withstood, since he has wandered off into the wood. The other gods are pusillanimous, and Indra is no cause of fear to us. And Brahma may be easily subdued, who always meditates in solitude. In spite of this, the haughty deities seek to perpetuate hostilities. Therefore, before they rise with branch and shoot, our verdict is the gods we must uproot. As when the body falls into disease, if neglected, the ailment doth increase, or when the wayward senses are not curbed, they become uncontrollably disturbed. Thus, even when allowed in strength to grow, the enemy becomes a deadly foe. Of all the gods, Vishnu is the support, the root, and of righteousness the resort. The ancient virtue, Brahmins, and the cows, and sacrifice, and gifts with pious vow. Therefore, O king, let us with vigor strive the Brahmins of their glory to deprive. Let sacrifices and penitents be all destroyed with the cows that produce ghee. Vipras and cows, Vedas, austerity, truth, self-control and equanimity, faith, mercy, tolerance, sacrifice too, the form constitute of Hari Vishnu. Thus he, by the celestials adored, to the demons his enemy abhorred. He is the stay and root of all the gods who dwell in their bright heavenly abodes, including Isha and the four-faced one, who rests secure under his protection. The only means is therefore to employ our vigor and the sages to destroy. Sri Shuka said, thus, when the evil counsel had conferred, and had his evil counselors thus heard, he deemed his good holy Brahmins to hate, since he was bound within the toils of fate. He gave assent to torture holy ones, which was a task pleasing to the demons, who could assume whatever form desired. Thereafter to his chambers he retired. Involved in dark passion and ignorance, the idiotic demons did commence the persecution of the wise and good, since death had arrived and before them stood. Longevity and affluence and fame, virtue, the world's high blessing and acclaim. These and such fortunes are lost and forfeit, if any on the great outrage commit. Thus ends chapter 4 in book 10 of the great and glorious Bhagavat Purana, the text beloved of swan-like saints, sung by the son of Vyasa. Hari Om Tat Sat Hari Om.
Is that where you want to end today?
A Porjanto. Because next time we will begin with chapter 5, and that there's the Brajalila begins then. So all
Okay,
that,
John.
those 4 chapters, they're introductory to the 10th skanda. They give you the antecedents of Krishna's
Brilliant.
birth.
Okay, so I'm going to turn off the recording now then.
Yeah.